Arsenal's first ever Champions League trophy felt incredibly close. After years of building the squad, overcoming disappointment after disappointment, and finally winning the Premier League this season, many believed this was the moment for the Gunners to complete their journey by lifting the famous European trophy. When Kai Havertz scored an early goal, thousands of Arsenal supporters began imagining a night that would be remembered forever. They pictured Mikel Arteta standing on the touchline with a victorious smile, the players celebrating history, and a new generation of Arsenal stars placing their names alongside Europe's greatest teams. But football often delivers stories far crueler than anyone could imagine. Arsenal took the lead. They managed to put the defending champions PSG under pressure. But from that point on, the match slowly changed direction. Arsenal chose to sit back, surrender possession, and trust their defense to protect the lead. The strategy almost worked for more than 2 hours of football. However, when the match was finally decided by penalties, all that hard work collapsed within minutes. What should have been the greatest night in the club's history turned into one of the most painful heartbreaks North London has ever witnessed. In this video, we'll break down how Arsenal's own strategy ultimately led to their downfall. Havertz's early goal changed the entire match. There is no better way to start a Champions League final than by scoring early. Arsenal got exactly that moment just 6 minutes into the match. A dangerous interception high up the pitch created a golden opportunity, and Kai Havertz finished it brilliantly. The stadium erupted as Arsenal fans celebrated wildly. PSG's players looked stunned, clearly not expecting to fall behind so quickly. At that moment, all the momentum belonged to Mikel Arteta's side. Arsenal were in the perfect position to control the tempo, exploit the spaces left by PSG, and force their opponents to take greater risks in search of an equalizer. However, the goal also marked the beginning of a major shift in Arsenal's approach. Instead of continuing to press and search for a second goal, the Gunners gradually dropped deeper into their own half. The intense pressing that had defined their season began to disappear. Arsenal seemed more focused on protecting their lead than extending it. On paper, that decision made sense in a match as important as a Champions League final, but in reality, it gave PSG the opportunity to recover. As the game progressed, it became increasingly clear that Arsenal were no longer trying to control the match. They became reactive, while PSG slowly took over the initiative. This was the moment the foundations of PSG's dominance began to take shape. Arsenal handed control to PSG. When a team chooses to defend too deep, the opposition is usually given room to develop their game. That is exactly what happened to Arsenal. After falling behind, PSG began enjoying longer and longer periods of possession. They moved the ball from side to side, forcing Arsenal's players to constantly shift and close down spaces. The match statistics highlighted the scale of PSG's control. Arsenal finished with only around 24% possession, while PSG dominated almost every aspect of the game. Numbers like that are extremely rare in a Champions League final, especially when one of the teams involved is the reigning Premier League champion, a side known throughout the season for their aggressive pressing style. The dominance was also reflected in the passing statistics. PSG completed more than 800 successful passes during the match, while Arsenal failed to reach even a quarter of that total. Every time Arsenal regained possession, they struggled to keep hold of the ball. As a result, wave after wave of PSG attacks kept returning. Arsenal's players were forced to work much harder without the ball. They ran more, blocked more shots, and spent enormous amounts of energy defending. In the short term, the strategy successfully limited PSG's chances. But the longer the pressure continued, the greater the risk of concentration levels dropping. At Champions League final level, one brief lapse in focus can become the beginning of a disaster that changes everything. Arsenal sacrificed creativity to protect the lead. Every tactical decision comes with consequences. For Arsenal, the price of their defensive approach was the loss of attacking creativity. Martin Odegaard, normally the team's creative heartbeat, struggled to influence the game. The Arsenal captain spent far more time defending than building attacks. Bukayo Saka also found very little space to produce the dangerous bursts of acceleration that had become his trademark throughout the season. Even when Arsenal recovered possession, they were often too far from PSG's goal to launch effective counterattacks. As a result, they created very little attacking threat after Havertz's early strike. Arteta's decision not to start Victor Gyökeres also became a major talking point. Many observers questioned why one of Arsenal's most productive attackers of the season began the biggest match of the year on the bench. With so little danger coming from Arsenal's attack, PSG were able to build their own attacks with far less fear of being punished on the counter. Leandro Trossard did provide the assist for Havertz's goal, but after that, Arsenal's forward line offered almost no meaningful threat. The excessive focus on defending disrupted the team's balance. They managed to neutralize much of PSG's attacking strength, but at the same time, they also limited their own offensive potential. In a final of this magnitude, balance is often the difference between victory and defeat. Arsenal's defense almost produced a miracle. Despite the criticism aimed at Arteta's strategy, Arsenal's players executed the game plan brilliantly for most of the match. Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba performed like an impenetrable wall. Time and time again, they shut down PSG attacks that would normally be devastating. Every cross, every aerial duel, and every attempted penetration had to get past those two defenders first. Behind them, David Raya remained composed and produced several crucial saves. Thanks to the discipline and determination of the entire team, Arsenal managed to frustrate one of Europe's most dangerous attacking units for more than 100 minutes. At several moments, Arteta's strategy even looked like it might create a miracle. Luis Enrique appeared visibly frustrated on the touchline as his team struggled to find clear openings. PSG dominated possession but could not convert that dominance into goals for a long time. Arsenal defended as if every tackle and every clearance carried life or death importance. Their supporters began to believe the trophy could genuinely be won this way. But football can be a cruel game. The longer a team spends defending, the smaller its margin of error becomes. And when the pressure keeps increasing without relief, even the strongest defense can eventually crack. The penalty shootout that destroyed Arsenal's dream. When the match finally went to penalties, Arsenal still had every reason to believe. After surviving 120 minutes against the defending European champions, many felt luck had finally swung in their favor. That confidence grew even stronger when David Raya saved one of PSG's penalties. For a brief moment, Arsenal supporters could see the path to history opening before them. The players gathered at midfield believing they only needed a few more successful kicks to secure the first Champions League trophy in club history. But it was at that exact moment that the greatest pressure began to appear. Eberechi Eze became the first Arsenal player to fail from the spot. His effort missed the target and instantly changed the atmosphere inside the stadium. Tension was suddenly visible on the faces of Arsenal's players. The situation became even worse when Gabriel Magalhaes stepped up next. The defender who had been heroic all night now carried the weight of millions of dreams on his shoulders. But his penalty also flew over the crossbar. Within seconds, Arsenal's entire evening of sacrifice and determination had been wasted. PSG's players sprinted away in celebration, while Arsenal's players collapsed onto the grass in Budapest. The distance between glory and heartbreak turned out to be only a matter of inches. And on this night, Arsenal found themselves on the most painful side of that divide. This defeat will become one of the deepest scars in Arsenal's history. They did not lose because they lacked quality. They were not overwhelmed by PSG. In fact, they pushed the defending European champions into an extremely difficult situation. But Champions League finals are often decided by the smallest details. Tactical decisions, brief moments of lost concentration, and the willingness to take risks can become the difference between immortality and regret. Arsenal proved that they have developed into one of the best teams in Europe, yet the night in Budapest also showed that there is still one final lesson they must learn before reaching the very highest level. So, what do you think was the biggest reason Arsenal failed to win the Champions League this season? Was it Arteta's ultra-defensive strategy, the penalty shootout collapse, or was PSG simply the better team? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible football stories every day.